With the first pick in the 2013 NBA Draft, the Cleveland Cavaliers select Anthony Bennett of Toronto, Canada, and the University of Nevada, Las Vegas.
Anthony Bennett, after 1 year at UNLV, becomes the first player taken in the 2013 NBA Draft.
Reese, I need medical help.
The look of shock on your face.
Oh my God.
Welcome to this edition of Ball Don't Lie. I'm John Collins. Alongside me is DeAndre Ayton. I'm just kidding. It's Hunter Pitcoff with David Green. We may not be suspended for 25 games, but we got the juice today for an awesome show.
We're bringing the juice today. That's definitely right. Here on Ball Don't Lie, no team gets left behind.
Not a single team gets left behind. And, yep, since last show, remember, David, when we broke the DeAndre Ayton story? Well, not really, but, it was live when it happened. John Collins also hit with the same 25-game suspension for PED use. David, what's going on with these players juicing, though?
Yeah, I don't know. This is like early 2000s Major League Baseball, Hunter. I don't know what's going on. I'm just wondering who's next with this. Which name are we going to hear about next? Alex Caruso? I don't know. Who
He did
knows?
get drug tested after that picture, though. Also, another Collins, not related, but Zach Collins, yep, loving the theme here, out for 4 months due to shoulder surgery. How much of a setback, if at all, will this be for the Trailblazers?
I don't think it's a major setback for the Blazers, but it is definitely a setback. I think the fact that they got Hassan Whiteside in the offseason will help. It's not Enes Kanter in there all by himself anymore, so I think they'll figure it out without Collins.
Yeah, I mean, this is a big loss, especially knowing Nurkic is also out. Whiteside's definitely held it down, at least for now. But that being said, though, Zach Collins is a good young player, and this Trailblazers team isn't as deep, especially at the bigs, as they've been in the past. So, I don't know. It's not the end of the world. As long as you got CJ and Dan back there, I think it'll be all right. And speaking of guys who can score the ball a lot, Jimmy Buckets got a lot of buckets, scoring 30 points, 9 of 10 from the field, and 10 for 10 from the free throw line at halftime last night.
Yeah, it's super impressive performance by Jimmy. Whenever he has a game like that, it's almost impossible to beat whatever team he's on because you know he brings it on defense as well. So when his offense is going like that, it's a scary sight.
Yeah, definitely. That was something else to watch. Just the efficiency, too. Like he literally couldn't miss.
Yeah, you gotta you gotta look at his shot selection, and he really got to his spots. He got hot just in general with the shooting, so really great game for Jimmy.
Yeah, a guy who always is ready to play. Someone who isn't always ready to play is Kawhi Leonard. He was ducking Giannis, sat out the game against the Bucks. Also, Doc Rivers got fined, or the Clippers got fined because of what Doc Rivers said, because he was like, oh, Kawhi's fine, he's not hurt, and the NBA put out a statement saying that he was, technically hurt, whatever that BS means. David, are you cool with the load management thing here?
Hunter, I'm sick and tired of this load management thing. I'm really sick and tired of it. I can't believe that this is like this right now. And Kawhi, you're either healthy or you're not. And when you are playing, you're dominating these games. So why do you have to duck the, defending MVP from last year, but then you're like, oh, I'll play against the Suns. And then the Suns showed up and beat you guys down. So you're picking and choosing is not working out for you, in my opinion.
Yeah, also, Kawhi, got Giannis his number in that series, too. It wasn't, the other way around where, Giannis just killed Kawhi. Kawhi had his number, yet you saw Giannis just dominate and do his thing. It wasn't like Giannis was like, oh, I'm not going to play. I'm scared of Kawhi,
It's just so frustrating, and I'm not even a former Spurs fan or a Raptors fan or a Clippers fan, but I want to see Kawhi Leonard play. I watch these games so I can watch Kawhi Leonard play, and the fact that he's just sitting out is ridiculous to me.
Yeah, definitely. I was really excited. I brought up last show how I wanted to watch that Clippers-Bucks game. It was primetime on ESPN, and it was like, oh, Kawhi's not playing. You're like, fantastic. So, speaking of Clippers who aren't playing, but one who is expected to be back soon is PG-13 himself, Paul George. Obviously, he had the shoulder surgeries, both shoulders operated on in the offseason. He's expected to be back in the next week or so. David, this is obviously a really good Clippers team, but adding Paul George just makes them even more lethal.
Absolutely. Paul George, he, in my opinion, is a top 5 two-way player in this league. You want him on your team, and the fact that he's coming back is going to be huge for the Clippers because they do have another guy who can go and get you a bucket in Lou Williams, but you need Paul George on this team if you want to actually be that finals contender like everyone's talked about.
Couldn't agree with you more, David. And like adding a guy like Paul George, who's coming off an MVP caliber season last year, I mean, that's an addition no matter what team you're on. And obviously, no team gets left behind here on the Ball Don't Lie podcast. And this week, like we're going to be doing, we're giving our players of the week. David, do you want to go first or you want me to go first?
Hunter, I'll go right ahead with this one. I guess we could go back and forth with this.
All right, yeah.
I
hot potato.
I absolutely have to start out with this guy for my player of the week. Based off of what we said last week, we talked about how Giannis Antetokounmpo is not in the top 10 in scoring.
Crazy how a week plays out, right, in the NBA.
Yeah. I believe it was about 8 days ago when we said that, and I was like, Hunter, don't worry. I think he's just going to ball out probably these next few games, and that's exactly what he did. Every time I look, he's putting up 35, 40 points, 15 boards, and they're getting the win. So I think Giannis is starting to look like that MVP right now.
Yeah, it's crazy. Giannis just like, as soon as our podcast was over, me and David we weren't critical of him. We're like, he's got to pick it up. Like, we know that. Like, we're not worried about Giannis being in a slump. It was just interesting to see. But yeah, I mean, now he's in his bag right now, and he's not getting out anytime soon. Now, I also have a big player on my list, a big name. That's LeBron. He's currently on a 3-game triple-double streak, which is, I believe, the most a Laker has done since Magic Johnson did it in, like, 87, I believe. So that's interesting. LeBron chasing history as he normally does. And look, the Lakers, like the Bucks, you said, the Lakers are on a 6-game winning streak right now. Like, they are winning games. LeBron is playing better and better. He's not being passive to Anthony Davis anymore, yet Anthony Davis is still getting his, though, so it's not like there's an issue there. Lakers are steamrolling right now and are perhaps the hottest team in the league.
Yeah, I totally agree about your point with LeBron. This last week for him has been absolutely amazing. You talked about the triple-doubles, 30-point triple-doubles, actually. And I think he's making everyone around him better, especially Dwight Howard, who's been doing really well. I think that is because of LeBron. Yeah,
LeBron is also leading the league in assists at over 11 per game. So, David, do you want to give your second player of the week?
My next player of the week is a Phoenix Sun. His name is Devin Booker, and he has been absolutely balling out lately. It was a tough night for Sixers fans when they faced the Suns a few nights ago.
I was there for you with that one, yeah.
Yeah, I believe that was Monday night, and there was not a shot that Devin Booker could not get. And he had Ben Simmons guarding him, so the fact that Devin Booker could get any shot he wanted on a guy like Ben Simmons was scary. And he's putting up, I think he had 40 points in that game, and the Suns have been doing really well, and I think most of the reason for that is Devin Booker.
Of course. I mean, hey, he's the best player on that Suns team. Seems like they finally have something going, at least early on in the season. They obviously, you have to look long-term ahead, too, because, Devin Booker could pull an Anthony Davis or Paul George, when he was in Indiana, just be like, hey, we're not building a championship contender here. Like, I'm out, So, like, it's good that the Suns are starting to get their act together. Now, second player on my list, a former Phoenix Sun, now Indiana Pacer, TJ Warren. He had, and I'll read you this, his last 3 games, 26 points against the Bulls, 33 points against the Hornets, and 21 points against the Wizards. Now, I know those teams aren't that great, but the Pacers have also won 4 out of their last 5 games after getting off to a really rough start, and TJ Warren is a big reason why, especially, producing offensively while Victor Oladipo is still out.
Yeah, I think it's a surprise to me. I wasn't even thinking of TJ Warren when I think of the Pacers. Earlier on this year, I was really high on the Pacers, and I said they're going to do pretty well even before Oladipo comes back. And here's TJ Warren just stepping up and producing, so I think it's really nice to see.
Yeah, great acquisition for the Pacers. Also, they got Malcolm Brogdon as well, who's playing really well. So Pacers making moves in the offseason. That's obviously a good sight to see. Now, David, who else made your player of the week list?
My other player of the week is sweet Lou Williams on the Clippers. I mentioned earlier when Kawhi Leonard decides he wants to sit down or not play the game or if he's on the bench, even when Kawhi's on the court, Lou Williams can and will go and get you that bucket you need, and he can get it from anywhere on the court. And I think that he is a cornerstone of any franchise who is a finals contender. You need a guy like Lou Williams.
Yeah, Lou Williams. I think he only gets paid like $8 million a year too.
It's
Like
a steal.
That's a steal. Like this dude is one of the best scorers in the NBA, hands down. I think he has a chance to maybe be the best sixth man of all time when it's all said and done, if he's not already now. And a player I have on my list, sticking to the Pacific Division in the Western Conference, is rookie Eric Pascal. This dude has been going off. I know the Warriors stink. I'm not even going to deny that, but with the opportunity, Eric Pascal has become a walking bucket for this team. 25 points against the Hornets. I guess every team eats against them. 34 points against the Trailblazers, which was, of course, a career high in his young career. And 19 against Houston. I also like the aggressiveness. He's hunting his shot. He shot the ball at least 15 times in all 3 of those games.
Yeah, I personally, I know almost nothing about Eric Pascal. It's a new name for me, and with the Warriors, I was really wondering who's going to step up since their whole entire core is either gone or injured.
Yeah.
So the fact that this guy Pascal is stepping up, making a name for himself, I honestly really like to see it.
Yeah, this Warriors team this year, it's almost like an audition for these players, not even for just the Warriors and Golden State, but like the whole league itself. And it looks like the Warriors did get a real one in Eric Pascal, to say the least. Now, we're going to stick with the player theme here. Me and David both made a list of guys who we think are going to be first-time All-Stars this year. So, David, how about you give us your first name?
All right, I mentioned him earlier. I think Devin Booker is making his first All-Star game this year.
I had him on my list, too, yeah.
Yeah, it's to me, it's pretty much inevitable at this point. Devin Booker's an All-Star, even out west in the wild, wild west. And with how he's performed this week and this year so far, I don't see any way that Devin Booker doesn't make the All-Star team. Not only is he scoring at a crazy high rate, but he's also playing some defense as well and distributing the basketball.
Yeah, you're right. Devin Booker has now more of an all-around game. And also, I think the one knock on him for never making the All-Star game is that the Suns suck. But it seems like the Suns are actually good now. So if Devin Booker is playing as he normally does and the Suns are winning games, I have a hard time seeing them not make the Devin Booker not making the All-Star team. So, David, who else do you have on your list?
Next up on my first-time All-Star list is Trae Young.
I also have him, too.
Yeah, so great minds think alike, I guess. So
nice Trae.
basically, in the Eastern Conference, not only is the conference itself wide open for the playoff picture, but I think the Eastern Conference All-Star team roster is wide open. And the way Trae Young has been playing so far, even with the injury, it's a minor setback. He's already back, and he put up a great performance when he returned. So, personally, I don't see any way Trae Young doesn't make the Eastern All-Star team this year if he keeps up what he's doing.
Yeah, and I think that even if he cools down a bit, I think he's definitely going to make it, because offensively he's putting up those numbers. There's definitely some spots to be had in the Eastern Conference All-Star game. I don't think record's going to matter as much in the East. Even then, the Hawks are vying for a playoff spot for sure. He's going to put up big boy numbers, taking a huge jump his second year, looks better than ever. And yeah, I have a hard time seeing Trae Young as of right now not making the All-Star game. Again, you know, All-Star game's in February, so this could definitely change. But there's right now, we're just talking about some players that are impressing us. David, who else made the list?
Next up on my list, and you're going to like this, I have Brandon Ingram actually possibly making it out west. I think he has a strong opportunity to make the Western All-Star team this year. That Pelicans team needs guys to step up, especially with Zion still out. Lonzo, he's doing better. And that team's just really interesting, but I think there's just all the opportunity in the world for Brandon Ingram to score tons of points every night. And I think he can become a better defender, kind of similar to how Kevin Durant became a better defender as his career went on. So I really like Brandon Ingram, and I think he looks really aggressive this year, and he wants it.
Yeah, he's the guy now, unquestionably. His role's a lot more clear right now. We'll see if it changes at all with Zion back. It probably will. He'll probably get less shots, I'm assuming. But yeah, Brandon Ingram is putting up all-star numbers. I didn't put him on my list just because with the West so competitive. Like, if the Pelicans don't step it up, like, it's just like, you know, you're really picking hairs at that point, especially, you know, with a guy with really good forwards in the Western Conference now with, you know, Kawhi, of course. He's definitely getting a spot. And yeah, I love Brandon Ingram, of course, you know, former Dookie. I love them on the Lakers, but the question isn't for me, is he not good enough to make it? I think for me the question's going to be, like, are the Pelicans good enough where he warrants a spot, you know?
Right, absolutely.
All right, so David, who else wraps up your list for the All-Star game?
All right, last one on my first-time All-Star list is another Pascal, but this is Pascal Siakam on the Toronto Raptors.
First name, though.
Absolutely. So we saw 2 years ago the jump that he made up until last year. He had a really great year last year. He almost could have made the All-Star team last year, and the Raptors were doing really well. So now I think with Kawhi Leonard gone, he went to the West Coast. Danny Green is gone. There's just so much responsibility and weight put on Pascal Siakam's shoulders. I think they're relying on him so much that he has no choice but to produce, and he keeps getting better. So I think he's just going to continue to put up these big numbers.
Yeah, I've been saying on this podcast that Pascal Siakam's going to be an all-star this year, so of course he's also on my list. Again, I'm very high on the Raptors. Pascal Siakam's gotten off to a great start. Someone brought up the other day, I was watching in the media, that he may win Most Improved Player again. I was like, yeah, he keeps getting better. So, yeah, definitely Pascal Siakam, a great choice. Now, I have 3 players on my list that you did not mention yet. So I had 3 players that you said that I also agreed with.
Let's hear it.
So one player that you didn't have on your list, and I'm sure as soon as I say it, you're probably going to be like, why did I not put him on, is Luka Doncic. He's been just so good this year. We'll get into him a little bit later as well, but Luka Doncic has been a man amongst boys, which says a lot because we are the same age.
That's unbelievable, yeah. he won MVP of the EuroLeague as an 18-year-old. When I was 18-year-old, I was just picking my nose, and I was not in a position to win MVP of anything. So that alone is just super impressive, and to me, he's getting better every year, too, so I would absolutely agree with that one.
Yeah, Luka Doncic, again, he's just so awesome. Another player I have on my list is Donovan Mitchell. I feel like the Jazz, it's about time they get somebody to represent them in the Western Conference. I feel like Rudy Gobert is who I didn't have on my list, but he's another guy I can see making the All-Star team for them. Both those guys are really good, but sticking with Donovan Mitchell, he's scoring at a much efficient rate. I think he's averaging about 25 or so this year. He's taking a jump every single year he's been in the league. And I also like that he steps up when the team needs him most. Like, Donovan Mitchell he's not scared of the big moment, and Donovan Mitchell is the type of dude that plays best when the lights are the brightest.
Absolutely. I'm a big fan of Spider Mitchell, and I think that the perfect team is around him for him to be successful. I think Mike Conley being inserted in that back court is really big time for his development. I think we talked about how there was a poll taken around the league that if any player would become a coach, it would be Mike Conley.
Yeah,
I think that's
bring
huge.
that up every show.
Yeah, I think that's huge for Donovan Mitchell. That's, to me, it's not a joke. Like, there's a reason that people said that. So, like you said, Mitchell's taking a jump every single year, and they're a playoff team because of him.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. He's proven that he can be a go-to scorer in the NBA. And our last guy I have on my list, it may sound a little shocking, but with the Celtics 6-1, I have Jason Tatum making the All-Star game this year. He's played really well. He's his shot selection, he seems more engaged in the offense. It seems like he just is also scoring at a much more efficient rate. He does a little bit of other extra things as well, rebounds. He can guard multiple positions. He hits big shots. He's shown that in the playoffs in his young career. And I just think Jason Tatum is a guy who I think was being a little overhyped after his rookie year, but now with the expectations a little bit lower, I think he's been flying under the radar and really, establishing himself as one of the best young talents in the NBA.
Yeah, Hunter, I totally agree about Tatum. I think his potential and his ceiling are through the roof. Does that make sense? His ceiling is through the roof?
His ceiling is the roof, as Michael Jordan would say.
Anyway, yeah, Tatum, I totally agree. He can do a little bit of everything, and I think he's becoming a little more cold-blooded. I think it was against Cleveland. He had that game winner. That was a nice game winner.
That's
you could
right,
tell that
he did have that,
You could tell that he's been talking with Kobe quite a bit based on how that game winner looked. It was beautiful to me.
Kobe's advice to Jason Tatum, and I quote, was shoot the ball every damn time. So, yeah, so Jason Tatum's like, okay, bet. So next we're gonna keep the player talk here. We're gonna talk about MVP candidates. As of today, of course, MVP won't be announced until June, but nevertheless, let's speculate. Want to give some love, give some props to players that are really stepping it up this year. David, who is number 1 on the list?
Well, Hunter, did you have 5 guys on your list? Did you want to start at number 5 and count it down?
Ooh, all right.
I personally am a big fan of the countdown.
The countdown's kind of intense. I like, the ball dropping like it's New Year's Eve, So, all right, let's do the countdown.
Okay, I'm going to start with my number 5 current MVP candidate. I had to put Kawhi Leonard in this spot, and the reason that I don't have him higher, because obviously he might be the best player in basketball right now, if not probably top 3 two-way player. So right now, Paul George isn't playing yet. He will be back very soon, but Kawhi so far has been carrying this Clippers team. But I couldn't put him higher up on the list because he missed a quarter of the season so far, or at least through 8 games. He missed 2 of them. That's a quarter of the games, and he's fine. He's not diagnosed with an injury. It's called load management both times that he sits out. So I had to put Kawhi at number 5. That could change, but right now that's where I have him.
I love how he just was really mad at the Spurs, and that's why he left. But the Spurs are, like, known for load management, and, like, now he just keeps doing it.
So ironic.
It is a little ironic. All right, so number 5 on my list, a player who I don't think, who's been vocally saying, I'm not going to load manage, Anthony Davis for the Lakers. He's been really good. Again, I reward winning when it comes to MVP. I'm a guy who's like, hey, if your team's not winning games, like, you have no business in being the most valuable player in the league. Anthony Davis is on the Lakers, and he's clearly had an impact transforming their defense and offensively. It just seems at times he's just absolutely unstoppable. Also, I like the fact that he's getting to the line a bunch. He's getting there at least 9 times per game, or that's his average, 9 times per game, and he's shooting 88.7% from the charity stripe as well. So very efficient numbers on both ends of the floor for Anthony Davis. And even though he may arguably be the sidekick to LeBron, I mean, a lot of the offense and defense has been going through him.
Absolutely. Anthony Davis, he's having such a strong year. If he keeps it up, it's going to be a historic year statistically wise. And like you said, if they keep winning, look out for the Lakers.
Yep.
So at number 4 on my current MVP list, I have Mr. James Harden on the Houston Rockets. The only reason I don't have him higher is because the Rockets are just so wildly inconsistent.
Oh, my God.
We have no idea what they are. We could get through most of the season and still have no idea what the Rockets are. So obviously Harden's producing quite a bit, but he did have a slow start to the season, in my opinion. His three-point shooting has been terrible. He's had a couple good games where the shots are falling for him, but he's been really inefficient so far. But again, he is in my MVP candidates top 5 because he just produces so much. He carries the Houston Rockets, and I have Harden at number 4 right now.
Yeah, this team, the Rockets and just James Harden, it was hard for me to put Harden on my list just because of the fact that, again, like the team, they have a lot of issues right now, and he obviously, production-wise, is right up there with the best of the players in the league, but yeah, just because of the fact that the Rockets don't look great right now, and Harden's not particularly playing his best. He has at times, but not particularly, is why I left him off mine. Now, number 4 may sound a little shocking, but I have Luka Doncic as my number 4 player. Mavs are off to an impressive 5-2 start. He is 8th in scoring, 3rd in assists, 13th in rebounds, and he's just been so clutch as well. Every time I watch the Mavericks games, down the stretch, Luka Doncic always knows when to make the right play. And I know he may be young, but he is playing at an all-star level and, in my opinion, an MVP level right now.
I'm a big fan of Luka, and I don't blame you for putting him in your top 5. I think Luka's been playing out of his mind, and he's always getting better. I just want to see him become a little bit more of a defensive player. If he does, Luka could be one of the best players on planet Earth, in my opinion. He is next level, and we haven't really seen anything like him. So I think if he can become a little bit of a better defender, he'll probably move into my top 5.
Yeah, let me say this, though, because I saw this, I think it was on the Jalen and Jacoby show on ESPN.
Great show.
And it is a great show. It's one of my favorites. And they were having a debate. Is Luka Doncic a top 15 player in the NBA right now?
I would absolutely say he is.
I would too. I mean, I have him 4th on my MVP list. Doesn't mean I think he's the 4th best player in the league, but I think he is, just based on, like, it's crazy to think that. Like, he's probably the youngest guy since LeBron to maybe even Anthony Davis to be, like, considered this high. But, yeah, like, Luka Doncic has been an absolute beast this year.
He can single-handedly win you basketball games.
Oh, my God, yeah. All right, David, who's number 3 on the list? Let's count up here.
Number 3, guy you already mentioned. I have Anthony Davis at number 3 for my MVP candidates. We talked about how he's been playing out of his mind this year. I think he's only going to get better as this year goes on and the Lakers' chemistry improves and he gets more used to playing alongside LeBron James. So Davis, he's getting tons of rebounds. He's putting up the points. He's doing his thing on defense. I think he's a candidate for Defensive Player of the Year. And a lot of the Lakers' offense and defense runs through Davis. I have him at number 3 right now.
Yeah, Anthony Davis was my pick to win Defensive Player of the Year. So if he does, I said it on this podcast. So check back to whatever episode I freaking said it. Now, number 3 on my list, and I don't think you're going to be too happy with it, is Kawhi Leonard. And look, he's averaging 29.3 points per game right now, which would be the highest mark of his career if he keeps it up. The Clippers are playing really well without Paul George, and they're only going to get better when he's in. And Kawhi Leonard's plus-minus, and people you take these numbers as you'd like, but his plus-minus is 11.7. That means that when he's on the court, being the Clippers, are typically outscoring teams by 11 points per game. That is pretty insane. Kawhi Leonard has been nothing short of excellent. I think the only thing holding him back, as you said, David, is the amount of games that he actually plays in.
Yeah, that tells the whole story with Kawhi Leonard right there so far. As for this season, when he's on the court, I think he's the best player on the court. He's just not always on the court, and I have to leave it at that for now with Kawhi Leonard.
Yeah, all right, David. Who's number 2 on the list?
Number 2 on my list, I had 2 Lakers in a row. I have LeBron James as number 2 on my list. You can't leave LeBron out of it, and he's been playing out of his mind, especially in this past week. You talked about the 3 consecutive triple-doubles, and they're not triple-doubles where he's scoring 15, 20 points. He's putting up 30-plus points in these triple-double games, and LeBron's playing defense the most I've seen in several years right now. So I think the Lakers are the reason that – I think LeBron James is the reason that the Lakers are in such a successful stint right now, and I have to put him at number 2 currently.
I kind of like what the Lakers are starting to do with LeBron. Like, they're still starting him at point guard, but they're not letting him play point guard throughout the entirety of the game, which makes more sense because he definitely has the skill to play point guard, throughout a lot of the game, but there's times where I'm like, all right, let's get like an Alex Caruso, who's playing a lot more minutes now. Thank God, I've been saying it. And
they heard you.
Yep, Kyle Kuzma, they heard. Frank Vogel's like, got it. But yeah, and Kyle Kuzma's now back. I'm sure he's only going to get better as well. The Lakers, their ceiling is the roof, as an MJ would say. And yeah, statistically, LeBron is the best defender on the Lakers so far. That's what the analytics say. Take it as you want. But you can clearly see it. LeBron gives more on the defensive end than he did last year.
There's nothing like the sight of a LeBron James with a sense of urgency on defense, and it's quite a sight to see.
All right, David. Yeah, so number 2 on my list, I have a feeling he'll be number 1 on your list, is Giannis, because he's the only player in NBA history, this has never been done, to have 200 points, 100 rebounds, and 50 assists in his first 8 games of the season. A week ago, we were talking about Giannis, maybe not getting off to as good of a start as we would have expected. He's completely shut that down. He has been nothing but a freak, as he normally is on the basketball court. Both ends of the floor, always gets it done, and the Bucks are winning games as a result.
Hunter, Giannis must have heard us calling him out on the show last week, because since then, he has played as well as I've ever seen him play. He's producing at a crazy rate, and we know how great of a two-way player he is. It's really hard to score on this Bucks team, especially with all the size they have. And similar to what I said about Donovan Mitchell earlier, I think Giannis has the perfect group around him for him to be successful.
Yep, David, and he number 1 on the list?
Giannis is number 1 on my MVP list. As of right now, if the season ended today, I'd have to give my MVP to Giannis. I think that he is leading this Bucks team, and they're currently the best team in the East right now, in my opinion. And it's all because of Giannis. Without Giannis, this team would not be very good. And I just think that what he brings on both offense and defense, and just intangibles with his leadership,
it's true, big part.
He leads by example, and you can't put enough value on that.
Yeah, I don't know if you've ever seen Giannis's pregame routine, if you will, but it is the most meticulous thing I've ever seen. Literally everything is timed to a dot about when he drives the stadium, how long his ice baths are, how long he takes naps for, his shoot around. Everything is so timed out, and you're just like, this is why this guy is maybe the best player in the league, because everything he does is so well prepared that he just, not only is he just better than you at basketball, but he out-prepares you as well, and that is what we want to see out of elite players.
That's right. No one wants to win as badly as Giannis, I think, and it's no surprise that he spent some time with Kobe Bryant over the summer, because this man is determined.
He is determined. You're absolutely right. And my number 1 player, as you already alluded to, is LeBron. So we have the same top 2 guys, and I think that's who really our debate is with right now. Of course, the other guys we mentioned, but yeah, LeBron, he's playing awesome. I kind of gave it to best player on the best team. and maybe even the best player in the world still. LeBron has something to prove. He's been trying to, quiet the haters. People saying he's washed. People saying he's not good anymore. He's not the same LeBron. I mean, he looks like the same LeBron to me. It's crazy because he's in year 17 and is still just killing dudes out there.
That's right. LeBron coming off that long offseason that he finally had after all this time of going to the finals, 8 years in a row, playing in the Olympics. LeBron finally had a long offseason to recover, get right, and he looks like it right now for sure.
Yep, definitely. And now moving on to our next segment, we're going to be talking about more team-oriented stuff here. It's going to be called Sink or Swim. So in this segment, we will be discussing teams who we think will stay afloat or teams that will drown. So in other words, do you think these teams listed that we're about to list will keep winning or stay losing? So the first team, we talked about them a little bit on our show a bit, is the Phoenix Suns. They have wins over the Nuggets, the Clippers, the Jazz, and the 76ers. Devin Booker playing at an elite level. It's not worth mentioning. Aaron Baines, Ricky Rubio also look great. And even without DeAndre Ayton, this team looks like they haven't really missed a step at all. David, is it safe to say yet, and I know it's early, but is it safe to say the Suns are for real?
I don't know if it's safe to say.
It may not be safe.
But I feel like the Suns are for real for some reason, and mainly that reason is Devin Booker. But they've had Devin Booker all along, and I don't think he took that huge of a jump from last year or the year before. He's been a really solid player the whole time. I think with what Monty Williams is bringing with this squad, coaching-wise, even with DeAndre Ayton getting suspended, this team just looks really good right now. I don't know what to make of the Suns just yet, but if you have to make me answer sink or swim, I think they're swimming right now.
I think they're swimming too, and they're, got that freestyle breaststroke in there. So, the Suns are doing really well. I don't know if they make the playoffs or not. That's yet to be seen, but they're basically the new Kings of the West this year, and the Kings are just the old Kings again. So the Suns are that young, fun team to watch that no one really had high expectations for entering the season, other than the fact that Devin Booker's just going to score a bunch of points and they're going to lose games. But they're not losing games now. There's something different about this team. Like, the last couple of years, or I wouldn't say couple, last, decade, it's just been, the Suns, it's just toxic, turmoil, goats taking poops in offices, Robert Sarver is crazy mind, but, it just feels different this year, and it just feels like the Suns are just rejuvenated, and they're playing with purpose.
That's right. It feels like ever since Steve Nash left this team that they've been just struggling to figure it out. But we talked about on the bus ride over here, with DeAndre Ayton suspended and he's not playing, he is a big part of this squad. He had a strong rookie year last year. What's it going to look like when he comes back? Because you have Aaron Baines, you have Frank the Tank Kaminsky. So I'm not sure how DeAndre Ayton is going to be inserted into this lineup when he comes back, but I don't know if it'll help or hurt them. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm interested that you were saying that, David, because I think it's going to help them. Because if DeAndre Ayton, who was awful on defense his rookie year, and it wasn't like he was that good at Arizona either when he was in college, but when that one game he played, he already looked a lot better. He is such a talented player. This dude, I know he's not as good as Luka Doncic, but he did go number one for a reason. And it's because the Suns saw the potential of Devin Booker and DeAndre Ayton pairing together. They called it like a mini Shaq and Kobe. I'm like, all right, slow down. But I get where they're coming from with it. But yeah, I think DeAndre Ayton's a super talented player. And I think that he will be added in nicely. Now, I know that, DeAndre Ayton, again, he's probably the second most talented player on this team, so it could take a little bit of an adjustment period. But I think it's an addition at the end of the day because DeAndre Ayton can score both with and without the ball.
That's right. DeAndre Ayton, very talented player, had that strong rookie year last year. So I think once he comes back, I think Monty Williams is the type of coach to figure it out, and I don't see any way that it's not a good thing when he comes back. Yeah,
but I was curious, Dave, because you think it may take a little bit potentially, or you think that it'll be seamless. I'm just curious.
I think I think it'll take a little bit of time once he returns, just figuring out the lineup and the rotation. Since they have been somewhat successful, at least for the Suns, they have been very successful without him. So once he comes back, I think it'll take them at least a few games to just figure out what works best with their lineups and the rotation once, Ayton is thrown into that mix.
Yeah, definitely. Again, Suns are actually a watchable team for the first time, and God only knows how long. Now, a team that usually is probably one of the least fun teams to watch, but a good team is the Houston Rockets. It's because they play all offense, no defense. This team's so inconsistent. They are 28th in defensive rating right now in the NBA, dead last in three-point percentage. They're allowing teams to shoot 42.2% from the three-point line, and they apparently allow 16 wide-open three attempts per game. Like, this defense is so freaking bad. I'm just like, oh my God, like, what happened?
Yeah, Hunter, the Rockets one night look like they can beat any team in the NBA with the way they can fast break and just put up so many points, but they look like on other nights that they could lose to any team in the NBA because they play literally no defense whatsoever.
They're like your Eagles.
Yeah, exactly. Off topic, I'm an Eagles fan, a little football action. They look the same way. They're really inconsistent, and I think the Rockets are the same way. They have tons of talent on the team, but they're just wildly inconsistent, and the lack of defense is a legitimate problem if they actually think that they're a contender.
Yeah, definitely. And David, let me ask you this. Do you think that they're going to pick it up over these last few games, or you still think it's going to be a little bit shaky?
Moving forward, I think they will pick it up looking at the rest of this season. However, I do think it's going to be shaky. There's no way it's not going to be shaky. Russ and James Harden, I know they're good friends and they get along and everything, but that doesn't mean that their games mesh perfectly together. And I look at the box scores of these Rockets games, and it's all Harden and Westbrook. You got to have other guys being involved. You can't have, like, Capella and Gordon and P.J. Tucker just standing around scoring, like, 5 and 6 points. That doesn't help you win games.
Yeah, Eric Gordon has been really, really quiet this year, and I guess it's because he's not, now he's coming off the bench. He's not as involved with the offense, of course. Less ball handling responsibilities for him. Clint Capella, I don't know if you saw this the other day, but he had this one post move, and I think Jonas Valanciunas may have been guarding him. Like, he couldn't even, like, get the shot off. It was, like, the most awkward thing I've ever seen in my life. So, like, yeah, maybe Clint Capella should just stick to defense.
Yeah, Capella's an interesting player. I am a big fan of Capella, I think he did a phenomenal job in the series. I think it was 2 years ago against the Timberwolves and Karl Anthony Towns. He did great in that series. But again, Capella, most of the time, is just catching lobs from Harden.
Yeah, that's very true.
He's very good at it, though.
He's very good at it. He's great at getting those rebounds. He's the perfect center for that team. But, again, he's perfect for defensive reasons, and the team as a whole is just playing terrible on defense. I think this team, they'll be flying, but it's going to be some shaky turbulence going on there because there's definitely going to be issues. I don't think everything is solved, and I don't think it'll be solved in the immediate future. Now, let's stick to the Western Conference here. A team that has probably been a little more underwhelming, in my opinion, is the Portland Trailblazers. Now, again, like we alluded to early in the opening part of the show, no Zach Collins for the majority of the season. This Trailblazer team has lost, I believe now, 4 out of 5 games. Most of their losses, they've been close games, but, there's Damian Lillard, who is low-key averaging 31.1 points per game. Whiteside's look good for now, but I don't know, David. I'm not as high on this Trailblazer team. I wasn't entering a season because I just don't think their team, like their personnel, is as good as it was last year.
Right. I like the Blazers, and to be fair, the Sixers did escape Portland with that 1-point victory off of the game winner by Furkan Korkmaz, which doesn't happen every day. So without that happening, they would be 4-4, but still, there is some concern with this Portland team. You mentioned Collins is out. It looks like a majority of the regular season. I don't know if he'll be out the whole year, but
it said 4 months, so
yeah, that's a big chunk of
lot.
time.
I don't know if he'll come
him.
back, but he may. It wasn't been ruled out yet.
There are bright sides with this team, like you said. Whiteside does look good for now. That could change at any time, but right now, I think Whiteside's looking good. I think this is a good team for him to be on. Damian Lillard, he's putting up the big numbers. We know how effective C.J. McCollum is. I think Rodney Hood did really well for them in the playoffs last year. Hopefully Rodney Hood keeps up the strong shooting and decent defense. But you just don't know with this Blazer team. One more thing I like, a couple weeks ago I mentioned Anthony Simons. It looks like he's definitely in the mix with this.
He does look good.
With this
That's
team.
been a bright spot.
So the fact that they have Lillard and McCollum with that dynamic, and now they bring in that other guard Simons, I think that he'll continue to improve in this system, and I think the Blazers will turn it around.
Yeah, their offseason, in my opinion, just didn't make a whole lot of sense. They signed Rodney Hood to a ton of money.
Yeah, too much.
Yeah, it was a little pricey. They got to sign Whiteside, who of course has the expensive contract. Which Whiteside, he's playing good right now. I think mainly because he's in a contract year. He's always been that guy when he's in the contract year. All of a sudden he's amazing, and oh wow, Hassan Whiteside's awesome. And then he becomes 40 pounds overweight, and then they also they lost Alfred Camino, they lost Mo Harkless, they lost Seth Curry. This may not sound like big losses, but when it all adds up, those were valuable players on this team that had defined roles, and now they do not have those players. So I think as a result, that's mainly why the Trailblazers have had a rough start, because it's just a whole new cast of dudes.
Definitely legitimate concerns there with the players who are no longer with the team, but I trust in Coach Terry Stotts. I think that they're going to figure it out. I think this is still a playoff team.
Yeah, I would say they're still a playoff team as well. I just don't think they're going to finish third like they did last year. I think that the Western Conference has gotten better and harder to get to the top. Now, the Charlotte Hornets, they are 6th in the Eastern Conference right now. They're beating up on a lot of bad teams. I'm not going to lie. They competed with the Celtics but lost last night, and Kemba Walker's pretty emotional return to Charlotte. I don't know if you saw him, how caught up he was emotionally, and understandably so. This team is really interesting. So, the leading scorer, Devontae Graham, doesn't even start, and he's averaging 17.3 points off the bench. Terry Rozier, P.J. Washington, Miles Bridges, also some young players impressing. Their top 4 scorers, who are the 4 dudes I just mentioned, are all shooting over 35% from 3. Devontae Graham, P.J. Washington, 46.7% from 3. And this team shoots a ton of threes. They're terrible on defense, one of the worst in the league, but they put those shots up like no one else's business, and they're 4-4, so they're actually staying afloat, and maybe they're better than what we thought they were entering the year.
Yeah, maybe the Hornets are a bit of surprise. I thought they'd be maybe the worst team in the league this year.
Yeah, I mean, they were in that discussion.
Yeah, all they had to me was Kemba Walker, and he's gone now, so it's just a bunch of young guys to me right now. They're 4-4. And they're putting up a strong fight against every team that they play against, from what I've seen. I haven't had a chance to watch the Hornets play a lot this year, but if you look at the numbers, this team can shoot it pretty efficiently, like you just mentioned. I don't know much about Devontae Graham, to be honest. He's really making a name for himself, especially off the bench. 17 a game off the bench is really impressive for a young player. And Terry Rozier, I think, he's a really big one on this team. You need Terry Rozier to be successful if this whole team is successful, in my opinion.
Yeah, definitely. Again, Terry Rozier is the dude they dumped a ton of money into. I believe he's getting paid close to $20 million per year.
Unreal.
A guy who was never even a starter in this league. But he's played well, to be fair. He's definitely showing that he's a more than capable player in this league for sure. P.J. Washington was a guy who I was so high on entering the draft. I had him ahead of guys like Rui Hachimura, who got drafted ahead of him. I just thought that he kind of reminded me of the Morris twins. Just a really solid big man who can stretch the floor, can play multiple positions on the court, can give you a little bit of everything, and probably even more talent, arguably, at least in the low post than those two guys. But he's shooting threes like we didn't even see him do at Kentucky, and it's definitely helped the Hornets for sure.
That's right. I like the Hornets. I hope that they can keep it up, and I hope that they can stay over 500, because I completely counted this team out going into the year, and it's nice to see a young new team on the come-up with everyone seeming to improve every time I see them. So definitely hoping for the Hornets to keep up their good work.
All right, David, I'm going to put you on the spot here. Hornets make the playoffs?
Ooh.
Ooh.
I'm going to have to say
Unplanned.
no. I'm going to have to say no.
I don't think so either. But, yeah, I think that they're definitely going to be watchable, which is good. Now, another team that is tinkering on that playoff fence is the Brooklyn Nets. They are 3-4 right now. Kyrie has been absolutely insane. He's second in the league in scoring at 31.7 points per game. Karis LeVert and Joe Harris, they've been playing well too. They've put up their numbers as well. But this team, every time I watch them, they're either just Kyrie closes out the game just fine, or they have no idea what they're doing. Also, they keep coughing the ball up like it's no man's business. They are dead last in turnovers with basically 20 turnovers per game. You're not winning games turning the ball over that much.
Hunter, the Nets are a weird team right now. If they had Kevin Durant playing, it would be a whole different story. But the fact that he's not, this team is a big old mystery to me right now. They've had a lot of close games. They are 3-4, and they could have won at least 2 or 3 of those games that they lost. But But like you said, they just take terrible care of the basketball. And it just everything runs through Kyrie Irving right now. He is their guy without question. So you mentioned Karis LeVert and Joe Harris. They're having strong years, but you need some other guys to step up. DeAndre Jordan is, one of the best old-fashioned centers in this league, I think. He's led the league in rebounds plenty of times, decent rim protector. They also have another strong rim protector in Jared Allen.
Yeah.
So I think that a lot of weight falls on Spencer Dinwiddie with Kevin Durant being out. Dinwiddie has to score a lot for this team to be successful, and I just don't know. I think the Nets are going to turn it around because they played a lot of these games really close, and they just didn't close it out at the very end.
You're right, David. And taking care of the basketball, I'm sure it will get better. Look, they also have a lot of guards on this team. It's a very guard-heavy team, a lot of ball handlers, and usually the best players who handle the ball the most, they may get a lot of assists, they may get a lot of shots, but they also get a lot of turnovers, and that's kind of the name of the game. But you do have to take better care of the ball. And I'm on with your side, David, here, because this Nets team, even without KD, is still very good. I think they're going to make the playoffs anyway. I expect them to be better than they were last year. And Kenny Atkinson is a no-excuse coach. Like, he, Long Island representative, of course, is going to get on these guys and be like, stop turning the ball over. Like, he's not going to just let this slide. He's not one of those coaches. He will hold his players accountable. And a team that maybe needs to be held accountable a little bit more is the Orlando Magic. Yes, they've had a difficult schedule. Some of their losses include the Hawks, Raptors, Bucks, Nuggets, Thunder, and Magic. At least 4 of those teams are probably making the playoffs, maybe even more. They're 2-6 right now. Pretty pathetic. There's been a pretty big decline on the offensive side of the ball. They're shooting pretty well. Jonathan Isaac, who's our guy, he's looked pretty good defensively. They're not getting the production out of their players offensively as they were a season ago, as they are dead last in the NBA at 93.6 points per game. In today's NBA, that is low.
Yeah, that's right. The Magic are just one of those weird teams. They have a lot of talented players, and they didn't really lose anyone from last year. They bring in Markelle Fultz, obviously. They bring in Mo Bamba. Well, they didn't bring him in. He was hurt last year, and now he's back this year. So it's just weird to see that the Magic are only 2-6 right now. Dead last in the NBA in points per game. So I don't know what's next for this team. We talk about Jonathan Isaac quite a bit on the podcast.
He's our guy.
He's been struggling on offense a little bit, but his defense has been phenomenal for his standards. So I don't know what to make of the Orlando Magic right now.
Yeah, Jonathan Isaac, defensively, he's putting up all NBA defensive numbers right now. He's averaging, I think this number actually went up, but as of Wednesday, he was averaging 2.6 blocks per game and 1.3 steals per game. And again, he's a freak of nature. He's also shooting very well from the field. He's shooting 35.7% from 3. He's knocking down 93.3% of his foul shots. So he's been very efficient, but maybe he just needs to get the ball more, perhaps. We definitely want him to get the ball more, so our most improved player of the year prediction stays the same. And I think a big reason also is Vucevic, who was an all-star last year, not playing as well. He's been underwhelming, to say the least. Aaron Gordon, they gave him all that money. He's not doing anything. And Terrence Ross, who they also gave a lot of money in the offseason, not doing anything. And maybe, I don't know, putting Markelle Fultz in the starting lineup helps? I don't know. But, yeah, the Magic, they look a little abysmal right now.
Yeah, who knows with the Magic right now? I guess you could tinker with the lineup like you mentioned. I think Clifford is a fine coach.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
I really like what he did in Charlotte. Yeah, I'm gonna have my eye on the Magic because I think they have the personnel and the talent to turn it around. Maybe they just struggled with their schedule thus far because they did play 3 strong teams in the Raptors, the Bucks, and the Nuggets. 3 very tough teams to beat, but they got to win these easy ones like the Thunder games, and the Atlanta Hawks you would think would be an easy one, but I don't know. If you're the Magic, what do you do next?
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, I think Trae Young had like 39 points in that opening game. So, to be fair, they the Hawks are a pretty good team, I guess, when Trae Young is going off like that.
Right.
But at the same time, it's like you're a defensive team and Trae Young's going off like that. Like, that's not what your identity. They're kind of the new age Grizzlies, like big, long, athletic. They're gonna lock you down defensively, and they've been fine on that end of the floor. But at the end of the day, this is an offensive league. If you can't score, there's going to be an issue.
Yeah, the Magic got to figure that out. I'm not sure who specifically, if it's more than one guy, who's going to step up for them, but someone has to step up.
Yeah, absolutely right. Now we're going to be going to a little segment called the Coach's Corner. So I feel like we very rarely talk about coaches specifically on the show, David, but me and David both picked a coach that each of us, we'll see if we have the same one. We both picked a coach who we thought was doing a great job this season and one who may be on the hot seat, pretty plain and simple. So, David, who do you think is doing a terrific job with their team?
I think that Coach Spoelstra of the Miami Heat is doing a really nice job with this team, as he always has. This team never tanks as long as he's been there. I believe this is his 8th or 9th year there. I want to say it's his 9th year as the head coach. He's been with the team almost.
He's been there forever.
Yeah, he's been with he started as an assistant video coordinator for this team. Worked his way.
Maybe my job coming out of college.
Absolutely, and he worked his way all the way up to being the head coach of a team that went to the finals 4 times in a row, won 2 in a row. So with obviously LeBron leaving, Dwayne Wade retires, Chris Bosh has to retire. It's a whole new look in Miami. And the last few years, I think they've showed phenomenal progress in developing guys, and I think they're showing no sign of slowing down. They are a legitimate team in the East, and every time I look at the box score during the Heat games, they have more guys than I can count on my hand who are scoring in double figures. It's not just one guy carrying the team, so great things to see from that team.
Love that pick, David. Again, I think Eric Spoelstra doesn't get enough love. We give him enough love, of course, here on Ball Don't Lie. But, yeah, I mean, the Heat are 6-2. This team's legit. Jimmy Butler is playing at a great level. They also got other guys, like they get those diamond in the rough, Kendrick Nunn type of dudes.
My boy.
They draft guys like Tyler Hero and Bam Adebayo. I guess it's the Kentucky thing. They step up and look great young players that are only going to get better. So, yeah, the Miami Heat and Eric Spoelstra, that's a great pick. Another guy who I picked on my love list, if you will, is Monty Williams. You brought him up early in the show. Again, the Suns playing really well, perhaps exceeding expectations a little bit like the Heat. And yeah, I guess we like the hot weather teams here, the Suns, the Heat. I just realized that. But yeah, I mean, I think that the Suns are looking awesome this year. I know we've already talked about them a lot on this show, probably more than we thought we were going to talk about them entering the season. But yeah, nevertheless, I got to give props where it's due.
Absolutely. Monty Williams, I think he is turning around this Suns team. DeAndre Ayton goes out, as we mentioned earlier, and then they start doing well. It's a very interesting dynamic, and I think he's a perfect coach for Devin Booker to continue his development as a player, if you will. And
I do have to say, Monty Williams was perhaps the hottest commodity on the coaching free agency, if you will, during the offseason. And he picked the Suns over the Lakers, who had LeBron and were probably getting Anthony Davis. Like, he picked the Suns over this team, so he definitely saw something he liked. And it's nice to see, especially everything he's went through in his life, just the success that he's having so far with the team.
That's right. You really got to respect a guy who takes a look at a team like the Suns, who were arguably the worst team in basketball last year, and he's like, I think I can help turn things around.
Yeah,
and that's exactly what he's doing. It's great to see.
The culture is a lot better. I also saw something kind of funny that he has, I don't know who's doing it, but one of the coaches is recording the amount of passes the team gives or a team has per game, and he wants it to be north of 300 passes every single game for the Phoenix Suns. Isn't that something?
That's absolutely crazy to think about. 300 passes in one game. Is he like counting, or has someone counting all these?
Someone is counting for them. I don't know how much they do per game, but that he has made that a point of emphasis, and I find that really interesting, and I'm sure that helps with team building as well.
Yeah, that's super interesting. That's a great way to hold your team accountable and sharing the basketball and not playing iso ball, especially with a guy on your team like Devin Booker who can easily get his own shot. Hey, guys, you still got to pass the ball 300 times per game. That's really interesting to think about.
Yeah, it is. I just thought that was a really cool factoid right there. Now, David, a little more negative Nancy over here. Who do you think's on the hot seat right now for coaches?
Right now, I think Coach Mike D'Antoni is on the hot seat with the Houston Rockets.
I agree with you 100%.
They've been really successful with him. His whole, system, if you will. He coached the Suns back in the day, that whole 7 seconds or less offense. They were not able to win a title. They kept running into the Lakers, the Spurs, could not get past those teams. Then he goes to the Knicks. We know what happened there. Not much. Didn't get along with Carmelo. And then he comes to Houston, meets James Harden, and turns James Harden into a superstar.
Melo comes back.
Melo returns. And yeah, the Rockets have just consistently come up short in the playoffs, and you don't know if eventually it gets back to being, hey, maybe Mike D'Antoni's system is not going to win a championship. Although they've been successful, and we talked about how this year the Rockets are off to a rocky start, it's not like his job is easy. He has to figure out a dynamic between Harden and Russ and all those other guys. But right now, I think D'Antoni's on the hot seat. I think this year they have to do something huge and at least get to the Western Conference Finals, or else he is going to be burning up in that seat.
Yeah, his seat is definitely sizzling. But I will say this. He has publicly complained about the fact that, and I actually don't blame him for this, because Daryl Morey, who had a very weird offseason, both good and bad, he literally fired the entire coaching staff other than Mike D'Antoni and personally hired guys to work with D'Antoni. That's not usually how it works. Usually the head coach has the reign of hiring his own staff. And one guy who they let up, and this may be why their defense has been so bad, is their defensive coach, Jonathan, I think it's Feigen is how you pronounce his name. He's currently with the Pelicans right now, who also can't play defense, but maybe that's largely due in part of Zion not being there. But, yeah, I mean, like, he was the defensive guy. He got a lot of the credit. He was almost like the D coordinator for that team. And D'Antoni was the offensive coordinator, if that kind of makes sense, put it in football terms. But, yeah, I think that's a big loss. And the fact that they don't have all their coaches there right now, it's a whole new set of guys. Like, it's not only a new team that the Rockets are dealing with, but it's new coaches as well. And that's a lot of new heads, and that's probably why they've been very inconsistent, because talent is keeping them afloat. But at the same time, all these internal problems is kind of holding them back.
Yeah, the Rockets are just such an interesting story. Like you said, they bring in that whole staff. Basically, this to me is like an experimental year for the Rockets in which they cannot afford.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
So I don't know how much longer they're going to be contenders going into the season, but it can't be looking good long term for this team.
It's almost like kind of Frankenstein. Like, you put all the parts together, you just hope it's a person, but at the same time, it could be a science experiment gone wrong. So, yeah, I don't know. But, yeah, looking at the Chicago Bulls, though, Jim Boylan, this is his first year fully as the head coach. No more Fred Hoiberg there. And the Bulls are a team that I think had some hype entering the season, and they've been a little underwhelming in my opinion. So I don't think his job is entirely safe. Plus, we don't really talk about the Bulls a whole lot on this podcast, so I wanted to bring him up. Again, no team left behind.
That's right.
Of course. So, yeah, but the Chicago Bulls, like, Zach LaVine's numbers have been a little down. I don't necessarily blame coaching for that, but it seems like this team, they're young and they're having growing pains, of course, but I think this is a team that we expected a little bit more out of, especially on the defensive side of the ball. And looking at how the Lakers were able to come back on them pretty easily, they were up 19 points at one point in the second half, and the Lakers came back and won by 11. Like, that's pretty embarrassing, and at home too. So I think for the Bulls, like, if they're not playing up to standard, like, there definitely could be a coaching change there.
We talked about how wide open the East is, and the Bulls are one of those teams to where if they play really well, they might be able to make a playoff appearance. And they have a lot of talent on that squad. I think it comes down to finding the perfect lineup and rotation for this team. It's interesting because they bring in Kobe White. He's looking really good.
Yeah,
but
good.
It's just not super clear what the best option is as far as who is on the court with who when. So you got Satoransky. You have the rest of those guys. It's just tough to see who fits on the court perfectly at the same time, and then, like, who would you want to come off the bench for that team?
That's a good point, David. And also, like, again, a lot of moving parts for this team. A lot of their main guys came back, but even then, like, Lauri Markkanen, of course, has been on the team. But again, he was hurt a lot last year, so now you got to implement him because he's a super talented player. Zach LaVine has been the guy on this team. Wendell Carter was hurt a lot last year. Now he's healthy. Satoransky's a new piece. Otto Porter, they got the trade deadline. Kobe White, they're trying to implement as well. Denzel Valentine's back. So there's a lot of moving parts here, and yeah, sometimes it just takes time because it's a lot of the same players, but at the same time, like, they all actually haven't played together, and as a result, maybe the chemistry's not there.
Yeah, to me, and I don't want to get too far ahead, but it kind of makes me think this is Boylan's first full entire year here with the full offseason, having known that he is the head coach of this basketball team. I feel like that they're going to make that jump and surprise everyone. Not this year, but next year, it feels like.
I agree, yeah. I wasn't too on the Bulls hype train entering the season. I'm like, I know everyone wants to say the East is bad, but still, like, there's still a lot of good teams in the East. Like, I definitely think it's better than it was last year. Outside of, again, the Raptors maybe aren't the same title contender, but like I think as a whole the Eastern Conference is better and it's more competitive, which as a basketball fan I'd love to see that. I don't want to see just the Western Conference teams doing well. I want to see all the teams doing well. But yeah, I think that the Bulls maybe are a year behind what other people think, but yeah, nevertheless, there's definitely talent there.
So you mentioned that Boylen, he's in his first full head coaching year for this team. Do you actually think he is on the hot seat? Like, if they really underperform, do you think his job is in jeopardy this year?
I say yes, just because like I don't think he's completely sold them on like that he's the guy. You know what I mean? Like,
so not everyone maybe bought into his ideas yet.
That's what I'm saying exactly. Like, for example, if you look at like with Saunders for the Timberwolves, they weren't winning a lot of games, but like they just looked better. Like, you know what I mean? Like they just started playing better. They were responding well to their new head coach, and they're doing well now, the Timberwolves. But like they just looked better. And even a team like the Suns, like if they don't make the playoffs, let's say they slow down, they only win like 35 games. Like that's still a huge improvement from last season. I think they won 17 games last year. So if this team doesn't make a big improvement, then there is concern because Boylen was there for a lot of last year. And if he doesn't, and if there's a better guy on the market, like everyone's replaceable in this business. I mean, you know that.
Absolutely, yeah. Your job could be gone tomorrow in this league, so I'm interested to see what the Bulls do and Coach Boylen does, especially with that lineup and the rotation, like I mentioned earlier.
Yeah, definitely. And even a guy like David Fizdale for the Knicks, like they kept him around because they're like, we don't like he's proven himself. You know what I mean? Like he's a proven guy. I just think Boylen just needs to prove himself. And now, last but not least, we always do this. Our All-NBA team went a little more fun, though, with the All-NBA nickname team. So thought it'd be fun. We're each going to pick 5 players who we think have the best nicknames in the league. Name is implied there. So, David, who's first on the list?
First on my list, and when we did our segment, I think it was a week or two ago, who are the most entertaining guys in this league to watch? Uncle Drew. In my opinion, Mr. Kyrie Irving,
Yep.
Uncle Drew. There was a movie made after
Don't
that
reach
nickname.
Youngblood.
Absolutely, do not reach Youngblood. You reach, I teach. Uncle Drew is, AKA Kyrie Irving, is the most
Just in case you
entertaining.
didn't know.
He is the most entertaining player in basketball to watch, in my opinion. He's absolutely amazing, and I think Uncle Drew is the perfect nickname for him, as he is just consistently putting guys on skates and finishing.
Yep. Also, breaking news. This isn't as cool breaking news, but Otto Porter, since we just talked about the Bulls, is out with a left foot sprain. Timetable for return is unclear. So,
oh, no.
Yeah, no, not as cool breaking news, but I just got the update on my phone, and we just talked about the Bulls, so I was like, why not bring it up? So, yeah, definitely. I mean, that's an awesome nickname. I didn't make my list because I was like, I don't know if people necessarily call him Uncle Drew like that, but, like, I love the nickname. Like, I love the whole Uncle Drew series, especially the commercials, like, when they first made him with, like, Uncle Wes was Kevin Love, and they had, like, lights as, Nate Robinson, like that was hilarious.
Yeah, you gotta love when a guy, I don't know how young Kyrie was when they started the whole Uncle Drew thing.
He was like second year-ish.
Yeah, but seeing a guy who can absolutely ball out, just out of his mind, looking like, street ball type moves, but dressed up as a very old man, never gets old for me to watch.
It's just always like, these young bloods don't understand the fundamentals of the game. He's like, that's a pocket pass. That's a pocket pass. I just remember that. That was just so funny. Now, another guy who actually could be on the Uncle Drew series, if you will, and doesn't even have to dress up, is half man, half amazing, Vince Carter himself, Vinsanity, a man of many nicknames, but I just love that nickname. We've talked about this before, I remember, but I just think that's such a cool nickname. I know it's like no one actually typically refers to him as that, but like that's just, I did thought for like a legacy pick, like, and he's still technically in the league. This man won't retire. But yeah, I thought putting that nickname, half man, half amazing, for Vince Carter was deserving of the All-NBA list.
I'm such a huge fan of Vince Carter. I've been watching him my whole life. I am
literally.
Yeah, I'm young enough to have been watching Vince Carter my entire life. He's still going strong, and I love his nickname because back in the day, he was half man, half amazing because of his high-flying abilities. He's maybe the best dunker of all time, in-game or not in-game. Yeah. He's probably the best dunker I've ever seen. Mm-hmm. And now, half man, half amazing fits perfectly still, but for a different reason. The fact that he's well into his 40s now, and today's kids are learning about who he is, and they're like, he's still playing and he's still producing and still contributing to this team.
Yeah, definitely. I always love giving props to Vince Carter. I think I saw this, which was kind of interesting. I think he's either second or third currently in the NBA in all-time scoring, which is interesting. I think it's like LeBron and maybe Kevin Durant are ahead of him. I don't know. I just thought that was kind of interesting.
Yeah, let's not forget, Vince Carter, he was not always just a guy who's a high flyer. He was a legitimate all-star and
all-star.
a very legitimate
Yeah.
player. When he was
Of
young,
course.
like Allen Iverson in that famous playoff run in 2001 after his MVP season, he had to get through Vince Carter to get there, and it was an absolute 7-game duel. So Vince Carter is a legend.
He absolutely is. I mean, he's probably the guy who I think is most likely to get a statue at Jurassic Park for the Raptors because, like, I know Kawhi won the championship, but, like, Vince Carter changed basketball in Canada. We see how big Canadian basketball is now. It may be their biggest sport. I'll say it, no cap. Screw hockey. Basketball's a new thing in that country right now of Canada.
Shots fired by my co-host Hunter Pitcoff here. But yeah, it's undeniable what Vince Carter has done for the nation of Canada and the team of the Raptors. So great pick with Vinsanity, a.k.a. Vince Carter, a.k.a. half man, half amazing.
All right, David, who's number 2 on the list?
Next
no
up-
order, but you know.
Next up, and this is not his nickname, but I have Mr. Load Management himself, The Claw.
Oh, my God, Mr. Load Management. Jesus.
Yeah, hopefully that doesn't become his new nickname, but
It may.
Kawhi Leonard, The Claw, I think it's a perfect nickname for him. I've never seen anyone quite like him, and people always give me some difficulty and give me some crap when I try and say, oh, Kawhi Leonard is so similar to Michael Jordan. He has these massive hands. He's an amazing defender.
His hands are huge.
Yeah, they're about the same size, and he's got that great mid-range game. So I think, and a couple weeks ago I saw Kawhi Leonard do that one-handed Michael Jordan pump fake.
Where did you learn that from? Like,
Yeah,
it's
not
just-
a lot of guys do that.
Yeah.
And I just think the Claw is a great nickname for him, and I love his logo that is like a giant hand that spells out like KL for his initials. So the Claw is the next guy on my list.
I'm really curious you brought that up, David, because they are having whole copyright issues because obviously
I heard about that.
He went from Nike to New Balance, which is a bold move. Not gonna lie, his kicks are kind of fire. Like those New Balance ones are actually like low key kind of nice.
I would rock them.
I don't know if I hoop in them, but I definitely would perhaps cop a pair if the colorway was right. But yeah, like I thought it was interesting. This is very off topic, but like this whole thing is off topic. But I did think it was interesting with the whole settlements with Nike, how he's like, give me my logo. They're like, no. So I wonder what Nike would even do with it in the first place.
Yeah, I don't know what happened with that. Apparently he designed it. Nike doesn't think so. So I have no idea what's going to happen with that. But I think Kawhi deserves his hand logo.
Yeah, now another guy who I think he got his nickname because when he first got in the league, nobody know how to pronounce his name, but Giannis Antetokounmpo with the Greek Freak. Also, I picked this one because it's just cool and it has that catchiness to it. Like it's very marketable, but I just like the fact that like people actually call him that too. Like it's not like, you know, some of these nicknames where it's like I've never even heard of that before. Like when you hear Greek Freak, you're like, that's Giannis.
Yeah, Giannis has in the last couple of years become a household name. He's known anyone who is known just by their first name is a household name.
Yes.
And Giannis, you know exactly who I'm talking about if I just say his first name.
A lot more babies being born with the name Giannis.
Yeah, and I think the Greek Freak is the perfect name for him. And I think he's always had that nickname pretty much since he came to the
pretty
league.
much,
so
yeah.
I love that everyone calls him that. And I try and call him the Greek Freak as much as possible because it's a fun nickname to say.
It is fun. All right, David, who else you got?
Next up on my All-NBA nickname team, I got Spida Mitchell, Mr. Donovan Mitchell on the Utah Jazz. We talked about him a lot on this show. I'm a huge fan of this guy. I think he's taking a jump every year, and this guy has to make the All-Star team this year. I'm a massive fan of Spida Mitchell, and he plays kind of like a spider. He's hard to catch. He's slippery.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, he's a little scary to guard.
Love the analogy here.
Yeah, so
Great.
I just think it's a perfect nickname for him, and I'm happy. We talked about the dunk contest before. Hopefully he comes back and defends that dunk contest title.
Yeah, it's really interesting. He definitely embraces that nickname as well. But I like the fact that, I mean, I think the nickname kind of comes from just like he's 6'3" with a 6'11" wingspan. His feet are freaking huge. Like, this man looks like a spider, just like those daddy long legs, if you will.
Or
but
long arms, daddy long arms.
Yeah, so the nickname's very fitting. He's a freak of nature. Not just that, he's also a great basketball player as well, has a ton of skill to complement the athleticism. So, yeah, great nickname. It's catchy. I'm a fan. Now, a guy who I have on my list, I love the origin of this nickname because I don't think he had it at first, but it was in the Eastern Conference playoffs 2 years ago, when Terry Rozier was giving Eric Bledsoe the business and then came out with the Scary Terry nickname and then the shirts that came along with it. And then Drew Bledsoe got in on it as well. And then they were rocking each other's jerseys to the game. It was one of the weirdest yet cool moments that I could have possibly have witnessed in that playoffs that year. And again, is Terry Rozier like one of the best players in the NBA? No, but he has one of the sickest nicknames, so I had to put him on.
Hunter, I also had to put him on. He was the next name on my list.
It's such a cool nickname. The story, too.
Yeah, I love the origin of Scary Terry. I'm a big fan of Terry Rozier. And like you said, he spooked Eric Bledsoe last year to the point where they were like, hey, Eric Bledsoe, like, why'd you have such a hard time in this game? And Terry Rozier dropped 30 points, and he's like, oh, I don't know who that is. Well, you know now, Eric Bledsoe. Scary Terry's the name, and there's T-shirts made after it, and I am definitely on the Scary Terry bandwagon. If I see them come up for a good price, I am going to get myself a Scary Terry T-shirt.
Yeah, those things were selling quickly off the market, and since we both had Scary Terry on our list, I'll go number 4 right here. This nickname, I remember that they were calling him this when he first came into the league, and they kind of stopped because KD is a little bit more catchy, but the Durantula.
That's a good one.
When I first heard that, I was like, oh my God, that's such a cool name for Kevin Durant. No one really calls him that anymore, but I just thought it was really cool. It's just like Tarantula, Durantula. I don't know. I guess we got the spider theme thing going on here, but I just thought it, like, just the creativity. No idea who made it up at all, but I just thought it was really cool, and it's an old school one, but I put it on the list.
Yeah, I think that's such a sick nickname for KD, and KD is like his other nickname, but it's just his initials. So
Yeah.
I think Durantula
This was actually creative.
Yeah, Durantula is a legitimate nickname, and who better for that name than Kevin Durant, the guy who's unstoppable on offense. He might be one of the best scorers I've ever seen.
Oh,
so,
yeah, definitely.
So I think it's a very suitable name. So next up on my list, and like we said, no team is left behind. So shout out to anyone from Cleveland on this one.
Oh, man. I think I know where you're going with
I
this
got to
one.
go with Colin Young Bull Sexton. I love Colin Sexton, and I'll never forget when I saw that clip of him. I think he was still in high school, where the guy who he's lined up with on the free throw line is just staring at him, and he's like, okay, I'll stare at you back. And he literally just turns his whole entire body and stares at him to where the guy just, like,
Oh my God.
he looked away.
Yeah.
I love that. Colin is such an intense player, and I think Young Bull is a perfect nickname for him because, to me, he was the only guy on Cleveland who played any defense last year. And I just think he plays every game really hard. He brings it every single night, and I think that he can continue to improve. Hopefully the Cleveland Cavaliers can do something to get better as a team.
Colin Sexton's come up is really interesting because he was very under recruited coming out of high school until his senior year, where he just started lighting it up. He already committed to Alabama. And then he was on the map, on the radar, and unlike a lot of players, he did not decommit. He's like, no, I'm going to stick with my commitment to Alabama. I'm going to go play there. They made the tournament with him. He was an all-SEC player, top 10 pick in the NBA draft, good rookie year. I don't think he made all-NBA rookie, though, or maybe...
He should have. He didn't get the love he deserved last year.
I don't think he made it. If not, he was second team. But yeah, he could perhaps be a guy like a De'Aaron Fox who out of nowhere makes that big jump his second year and no one expects because the Cleveland Cavaliers stink and he has the ball in his hands a lot. So he could be a guy that definitely, has that big jump his second year.
Absolutely. I think he has all the opportunity in the world. I think with Garland playing alongside him now is very big, and I think Jordan Clarkson playing alongside him was not good for his growth, having that be the only other guard he was playing with, because Clarkson thinks he's like Kobe or something, and he just likes to try. He just likes to try and take all these shots himself. So I think Garland alongside Colin, Young Bull Sexton, they're a perfect pair in my opinion. I wish Garland was a little taller or Sexton was a little bigger, but two small guards isn't the end of the world. I think these guys are an interesting combo because Garland is a nice shooter off the dribble and ball distributor. I think Collin is also becoming a good distributor. And if I'm a guard and I have to go and play against the Cavaliers, I would hate it if Collin Young Bull Sexton was guarding me because he makes your life hard.
He does. You're right. He kind of has like that Pat Beverly kind of mindset where like
exactly.
He is going to guard you. He's going to nose guard you, hand to the face, Shane Battier style defense. I mean, and he's a barker. He's not going to shut up.
Yeah,
he's
he
gonna
brings
get
that
in your
energy.
face. Yeah, I mean, any coach would love that. I mean, that's a guy who I'd love like just in practices because he's going to come to work every single day and he's going to bring that same passion, whatever the setting is. So mad respect for Collin Young Bull Sexton. Now, last on my list, this guy's not technically in the NBA, which I didn't even realize. He's now playing in China. But I have Kenneth Faried, the nickname Manimal, I just think is kind of sick. I remember when he first came in the league, and I think whoever was the Denver Nuggets announcer or play-by-play guy at the time gave him that nickname, and I was like, man, that's really, really cool. He was a double-double machine. Again, maybe didn't pan out as well as we thought. I mean, to be fair, though, he was a very small college guy. He played at Morris State. I have to look that up. But Kenneth Faried was an absolute, unit. I mean, just physically very opposing. His frame was Morehead State. I said Morris State. I was close. Give me some credit. It's a small score. But, yeah, Kenneth Faried definitely is a guy who I wanted, to put on this list because of the nickname, and probably the only All-NBA list that he'll be on probably the rest of the existence of this podcast.
Yeah, I've always been a big fan of the Manimal Kenneth Faried. I'm not entirely sure why it didn't work out in Denver with him, but I think he was a strong addition for the Rockets, and he helped them out a lot. I hope he makes it back into the NBA.
Yeah, Sam.
But he's just been caught in kind of a weird thing where he's kind of an undersized big man in today's game.
Doesn't shoot threes.
Yeah, but I think that there is absolutely a place on a team for him in the NBA. He brings the intensity.
Oh, yeah. That's
great rebounder, and I would want him on my team, so I'm a huge fan of the Manimal.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean, Kenneth Faried, that's the one thing that he does the dirty work. He's a bruiser, and I feel like even in a softer NBA, if you will, like, there's still room for those guys. Look at like a PJ Tucker and, even Pat Beverly at the point guard position. Guys who are just going to do the dirty work, guard the best player, get rebounds, play hard, dive for loose balls, dive in the stands, knock over people's popcorn. Like, there's always room for those guys in the NBA who just work harder than everybody else. And no other podcast here, not at Penn State or anywhere, works as hard as me and David do. So that's right. No team gets left behind here on the Ball Don't Lie podcast. I hope we did bring the juice today. Sorry that this is getting posted on Friday. David was trying to get some jobs in D.C., so we'll see if anyone calls back. Hopefully they do. I'd recommend him. I'm sure he's got a sick LinkedIn too. You want to check him out on there and check out our podcast here on Penn State Sports Night. Thank you for watching.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for watching our latest edition of Penn State Sports Night. If you're a fan of our content, please be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel for more clips. Also follow us on Twitter at PSSN TV and on Instagram at PSU Sports Night to keep up with the action. For all my colleagues, we are Penn State Sports Night.